Good evening, everyone. My name is Rene Rachel Morales Escanilan, together with my group mates Caballes Arian, Boloy Jarme, and Banzano Angel. So today we will be discussing the Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 of Prof. Ed 7, or also known as the Teachers and the Community School Culture and Organizational Leadership. So the topic for Chapter 3 is all about the social science theories and the implications to education, while in Chapter 4, it is all about the strengths and the weaknesses of the Filipino character, a socio-cultural issue. Now, before we proceed to our lesson proper, let us first identify our learning objectives. So in Chapter 3, the students will be able to compare the functionalist and conflict perspectives on education. Second is to determine the three tenets of the symbolic interactionist theory. Now in Chapter 4, the students will be able to discuss the strengths and weaknesses of the Filipino character and cite ways by which schools can counteract the weaknesses of the Filipino character. Now let us proceed to our lesson proper, the Chapter 3. So it is the social science theories and their implications to education. Now the sociologists have made three social theories, and these are the structural functional theory, the conflict theory, and the symbolic interactionist theory. Now these theories offer sociologists theoretical paradigms for explaining how society influences people and how people influences society. Now let us discuss the structural functional theory. Okay? So, according to our proponent for structural functional theory, Herbert Spencer, he views the society as a system of interconnected parts, each with a unique function. So when you say a system of interconnected parts, it means that every components or institutions of society has a connection with each other. Now, the parts have to work together for stability and balance of the society. Now, to discuss that further, society is compared to the human body with different but interrelated parts performing different functions. So, just as the human body has many parts, society has different but interrelated components too. Now, what are these components, or what are these examples of the components that are interconnected with each other? Yes, very good. These are the families, the state, the school, the government, the economy, the mass media, and etc. etc. Now these components or institutions or parts must coordinate and collaborate for the society to function well. Now, if one part of the human body does not function well, then the whole body is affected. That is also the same with the components of the society. Okay, if one of the components of the society does not do its part, then the society will not function well. So the overall health of the organisms or the society depends on the health of each structure. So let us have an example. So for instance, there is peace, stability, equilibrium, and harmony in society. If families do their part in bringing forth children, they will be the one who will nurture and socialize them. Then if education or schools effectively transmit education, skills, and values, if politics governs citizens well, and if economics takes care of food production, and etc. etc. So to explain that example further, it means that to achieve stability, equilibrium, and harmony in society, the family, which is one of the components of society, must bring forth children. Then they will be the one who will be responsible for nurturing them and socializing with them, because they will be the one who will first socialize them, right? Then later on, the parents will now be dependent to the school. Why? Because the school will help children grow and have good jobs in the future. We will discuss that later on of why the the education can help the children to have a good job. Next is, if the politics govern well, then the children will become law-abiding citizens and tax-paying citizens. And if everything goes well, then the stability and balance and etc. will definitely occur. Next is the functionalist theories of education focuses on how education serves the needs of society through the development of skills, encouraging social cohesion. So when you say social cohesion class, it is where the members of the society agrees upon the work together to achieve what is best for society as a whole. So the role of schools is to prepare the students for the participation of the institutions of society. So as we have discussed, as what we have discussed with our previous topic, diba, we've learned that the school is actually the ones who prepares us for our future. So, of course, this is already understandable. Next is, education is concerned with transmission of core values for social control. Also concerned with socializing people by bringing together people from different backgrounds. So, these core values have been already discussed since our elementary days. So, that is already understandable, right? That the education is the one who is concerned with that transmission of core values. Next, the functionalist theory is focused on social stability and solidarity. Functionalists see education as beneficial contribution to an ordered society. Now again, as what I have mentioned earlier, despite one component or institutions of society that does not function well or does not do its part, then the society or the functionalist will still adapt and recapture a new order to achieve that stability because because they are focused on the social stability, right, and solidarity. So next is, the functionalism does not encourage people to take an active role in changing their social environment, even if that changes may benefit them. So it means that despite what the functionalism often says about helping or collaborating with people to have a better society, does it mean that you have to shoulder everything? So, because when problem arises, various parts of the society will definitely compensate it naturally. So, for example of that is the school. So, the schools can compensate for the lack of time and the lack of parental advice from home. Now, let us proceed to the purpose of schooling according to functionalists. So first, is the intellectual purposes. So it is all about, intellectual purposes is all about the acquisition of the cognitive skills or the inquiry skills. So we already know that so it is already given to us that the purpose of the school is to give acquisition of those cognitive skills and inquiry skills. So that is already given na jud kay, of course, katagan jud tanan nila mga basic knowledges. So next is number 2, political purposes. Now question class, why do you think is the political purposes is one of the purpose of schooling according to functionalists? So let us read first the meaning before we explain that further. So it means, so political purposes educate citizens, promote patriotism, promote assimilation of immigrants, ensure order, then public civility and conformity to laws. So, do you remember what we have discussed in our previous lesson? Okay, that's right. It was mentioned there that there is no such, it was mentioned there that there is no such thing as a ruler forever, right? That is why, as you can see in here, it is where the school educates future citizens. So meaning, the children today might be the ruler in the next in the future. So that is why the school has a purpose of, the school is related to political purpose. Next is economic purpose. So, economic purpose prepares students for later work roles, select and train the labor force needed by society. So, meaning if you want to become a professional, then all you have to do is to study. Next is, what is this? The social purposes. So, the social purposes promote a sense of social and moral responsibility. So, education is concerned with core values and social control, right? Go. Now let us proceed to our second social theory, which is the conflict theory. So this theory believes that there are always two opposing sides in a conflict situation. So people take sides between maintaining the status quo and introducing change. Now they believe that those people who maintains the status quo are the functionalists, while the one who introduces the change are the conflict theorists. So, but then later on, they still arrive at an agreement. Now, conflict theory welcomes conflict, for that is the way to the establishment of a new society. So, examples of these conflict situations that have established a new society is the LGBTQ community. In the past, they experienced discrimination and abuse, right? Because of their gender orientation. But then as time passes by, they have learned how to fight for their rights and thus establish a new society wherein LGBTQ members are now welcome and have an equal rights to everyone. So conflict theories find potential conflict between any groups where inequality exists, such as the racial, the gender, the religious, political, economic, and so on. So examples for these racial are the black people in the right? Because in the past, they have also faced discrimination, abuse, and they were even enslaved because of their skin. The gender, that is what I have explained earlier. The religious, the Muslims. In the past, nang mahadlok ta sa ilaw, we are afraid of them because we thought that they might be an NPA, right? Political, for example, right now is the charter change, wherein the politicians believe that it should be changed, the charter change, right? Then the economic, in the economic example of these are the bourgeoisie or the employers and the employees, because there are a lot of employees who face inequality. Now, conflict theories note that unequal groups usually have conflicting values and agendas, causing them to compete against one another. So this constant competition between groups forms basis for the ever-changing nature of society. So example, again, this is one of the example of conflicting situations in economic. So example, the factory workers want change. They want a better working conditions, higher salaries, and etc. Then the factory owners naturally are opposed to such. So the resolution to the conflict, however, leads to a compromise. So a change happened in the factory wherein both of the employees and the employers are now happy. So maybe the employers have given the employees a little bit of high salary or a bonus in holidays. So now let us proceed to how proponents of conflict theory regard education. So education is not truly a social benefit or opportunity as seen by the functionalist. So they do not have the same views on the education. So rather, education is a powerful means of maintaining power structures and creating a docile workforce for capitalism. So they believe that the purpose of education is to maintain the social inequality and preserve those who are in power who dominates the society and teach the poor a lesson to learn their place. So as what we have discussed earlier with our instructor, right? He said that it can still be helped that there are inequality that happens in our school because, for example, right, the knowledgeable and the rich usually are in the section 1, while the latter are in the section 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this conflict theories call this the hidden curriculum. So the hidden curriculum socializes students to be obedient, conformist, and accept their lower class status, creating a docile worker. So maybe if these students who are in section 1 will definitely become successful in the future, then they will be the one who will dominate those people who are in the latter sections. So functionalist perspectives strongly disagrees with the conflict view. So they disagrees with those statements. So they assert that education promotes democratic values such as respect, punctuality, honesty, and adherence to the rules. So they also have a point, class, kay nganuman, education prepares us in our future, right? It prepares us to be punctual, to be honest, and to be a law-abiding citizens. But then conflict theories also have a point because of the inequality that we faced. Okay, so in summary, functionalist views education as a positive force that promotes cohesion and stability, while the conflict theorists believes no, they believe they view the education as a negative force that creates docile workers because of the inequality. Now that would be all for me. Thank you, and now let us proceed to Caballos Arian for the next topic.
Okay, so now let us move on to the last type of social theories, which is the symbolic interactionist theory perspective. Okay, so symbolic interactionism, it is a micro-level theory that focuses on meanings attached to human interaction. It could be verbal, non-verbal, or even symbols. Furthermore, it emphasizes the importance of symbols, language, and communication in shaping our understanding of the world and interactions with other people. And also remember, class, that symbolic interactionism, it is a sociological perspective that focuses on how people interact and interpret through social interaction. Okay, so symbolic interactionist theory has three principles or tenets. Okay, the first one is an individual actions depends on meaning. The second one is different people may give different meanings to the same thing. And the last one is meaning change as individuals interact with one another. Okay, so now let's talk first the first principle of the symbolic interactionist theory, which is an individual action depends on meaning. So of course, we act based on the meaning we give to the symbol. It could be by words, objects, or by actions. Okay, so every day we keep on communicating with other people. Okay, but of course, as we communicate with other people, we have different interpretations with the words, actions, or symbols that they have given to us. Okay, so now I have here an example. Just take a look at that. Okay, so imagine there are two people, Alice and Bob, and they're both working at the same company, and they also both receive the same email coming from their boss asking a report to be completed at the end of the day. But of course, Alice interprets that one as an urgent, so that the report should be completed at the end of the day. Okay, but on the other hand, Bob interprets that was just that as a gentle reminder that the report should be completed within the day, but it's not just urgent, it was just a reminder. Okay, so that's the difference. So the people interpret differently.
Alright, so I have another example about this one. Let's try to consider
a group of friends or a circle of friends, and they are planning to have a surprise party for someone. And the one friend thinks or look this celebration as a celebration of their achievement, leading to enthusiastically participate during or in organizing the decoration, the food, and the entertainment. But on the other hand, one friend look as who are suffering with social anxiety, depression, failures in schools, so they may look this idea of surprise will induce stress and discomfort. So as a result, they might hesitate to join the planning process and even decline to join the event altogether. So in this case, the meaning of the surprise party may differ from each friend, shaping their individual actions and reactions accordingly. Okay, so now let us move on to the second one, which is the different people may give different meaning to the same thing. So here, when teachers are strict, some students will see it as an expression of care, which is true, right? But on the other hand, the other may see it as a way of limiting their moves and desires in life, which is true again, because we cannot please everybody to believe that this is the real meaning of that thing, okay? Because different people may give different interpretation or different meaning to the same thing. Okay, so let's have an example. Certainly, consider the phrase home. So for some, it might represent comfort and a safety, but for others, it might evoke the feeling of constraint and trauma. So the meaning of home can vary greatly depending on people's perspective and experiences, because your experiences is different from others. Your perspective about home is different from others because you have different experiences in life. That is why different people may give different meanings of the same thing. Okay, so remember class that the meaning we assign to things is often depends on our individual perspective, life experiences, and cultural backgrounds. So what may hold one significance for one person might mean something entirely different from one another. Okay, so now let us move on to the last principle or tenet of the symbolic interactionist theory perspective, which is the meaning change as individuals interact with one another. Okay, so the meaning of something can evolve or shift as people communicate and interact with one another. Okay, so now let's have an example. Certainly the word cool. Okay, are you familiar with that? With that word, the word cool. Okay, very good. We often hear that one from other people, right? And especially when they say, oh, that was so cool. Something like that, okay? Now, this word cool was used to describe the temperature, right? Okay, but over time, it was evolved to something mean, fashionable, and impressive. Okay, so as people interacted and used words in different contexts, its meaning expanded to include qualities like styles, attitude, and also approval. Okay, so this shift in meaning demonstrates how language adapts and changes through social interactions and cultural influences. Okay, so remember class that meaning can evolve as individuals engage into communication and interaction. So like through dialogue, exchange of ideas, and shared experiences. And by that, people can influence and reshape the significance of things, leading to shift in understanding and interpretation over time. Okay, so remember class that as individuals interact, they often bring their unique perspective, interpretation, and experiences to the conversation, which can lead to the evolution or transformation of meanings. And this dynamic process of interaction can result in shared understanding or even entirely new interpretation of things. Remember that in this theory, which is the symbolic interactionist theory perspective, it emphasizes the importance of language, symbols, and communication in shaping social reality and constructing the self. Okay, so now let us talk about the implication to teaching. So let us continue to teach for meaning. Let us promote and create opportunities for genuine interaction among our students and teachers, or between students and teachers. Interaction does not only mean dealing with warm bodies. Interaction includes reading, listening, and viewing. Other people's views and meaning are conveyed in what they have written, in speeches and lectures they have delivered. Okay, so one implication of learning for teaching is the need for educators to adapt their instructional methods to accommodate diverse learning styles and preferences among students. This could involve the incorporating various teaching strategies such as visual aids, hands-on activities, group discussion, and technology integration to cater to different learners' needs effectively. Okay, so teaching has far-reaching implications, influence not only individual students, but also society as a whole. Effective teaching can empower students, foster critical thinking, and promote lifelong learning. Conversely, poor teaching can hinder intellectual development and perpetuate inequalities. Thus, it's essential for education to continually refine their methods, adapt to diverse learning styles, and stay abreast of educational research and best practices. Now let us move on to the weakness of symbolic interaction theory. So critics claim that symbolic interactionism neglects the macro level of social interpretation of the big picture. Symbolic interactionism traces its origin to Max Weber's assertion that individuals act according to their interpretation of the meaning of their world. So, however, it was the American philosopher George H. Mead in 1863 to 1931 who introduced the perspective to American sociology in the 1920s. For example, consider a situation where two individuals from different socioeconomic backgrounds interact. So according to symbolic interaction theory, the meaning of their interaction would be constructed through their shared symbols, gestures, and interpretation. However, this perspective may outlook the influence of larger societal factors such as economic inequality, institutional discrimination, and power differentials, which can significantly shape the dynamic of new interaction. Okay, so one weakness of symbolic interactionism theory is its potential to overlook larger social structures and systemic inequalities. So because the theory focuses on the significance of symbols and interactions in shaping individuals' identities and behaviors, it may not adequately address how broader social forces such as class, race, and gender influence these interactions. Critics argue that symbolic interactionism can sometimes lead or lead to a micro-level analysis that neglects the macro-level societal factors that contribute to societal inequality and power dynamics.
So, hello everyone. Let us move on to the chapter 4, which is the strength and the weaknesses of the Filipino character, a social-cultural issue. So, I am so sorry for the noise, but I don't have a choice. So, first, schools are there for the society. So, the relevance is proven by their ability to address socio-cultural problems. So they address the weaknesses and the strength of our society. So school is the integral part of the society. It helps children and young adults gain knowledge, skills, and experiences which prepares them for their future. So school taught us many things, including our character. They discipline us, but trying to discipline someone is a crime because there are many laws out there that protects the welfare of the children or the students. So the weaknesses of the Filipino character in 1998, Senator Leticia Shahani submitted to the Senate this report titled A Moral Recovery Program, Building a People, Building a Nation. So this report cites the strengths and the weaknesses of the Filipino character, which are the following. So first is the extreme family-centeredness. So it is one of the weaknesses of the Filipino character. They love their family so much. As Filipinos, loves our parents na og matigulang sila kita na pud matiman sa ilaha. But in other country, it's different sa ilahang ipa-atiman sa mga caregivers. That's why we Filipinos are different and they admire that. So next is the extreme personalism. Takes things personally, cannot separate objective tasks from emotional involvement. So some Filipinos do have this kind of character and it's valid because for some reason nobody knows the whole situation and the whole story. Also sometimes we tend to let our emotions control us and that's not good because instead maumanato dayon atong hinuunon on time, madelay pa hinon because we let our emotions affect us. Next is the lack of discipline, a casual attitude toward time and space, manifested in lack of precision and compulsiveness, in poor time management and procrastination. So it is very evident that one of the characters of the Filipino people is the lack of discipline regarding sa time, etc. That's why na also ang Filipino time that results to doubts and trust issues. So time management and procrastination, Filipinos will not do it unless the deadline will be tomorrow. Now next is the positivity and lack of initiative. So waiting to be told what to do, resilience to others, complacence, lack of sense of urgency. So I think this is one of very common of the Filipino people. Walang pagsuguon or sultian. There's no initiative and only depends on others and there is an absence of completing the task. There is no motivation at all. So in short, tamad. Now to discuss the colonial mentality and other weaknesses of the Filipino people, may we call on Angel May Manjano.
So now I am going to discuss the colonial mentality. So colonial mentality, it is a lack of patriotism or of an active awareness, appreciation, and love of the Philippines and an actual preference for things foreign. So this mentality refers to a mindset or set of attitudes that reflect the internalization of colonial beliefs, values, and practices by people who have been colonized. It can manifest in various ways, influencing social, cultural, economic, and political spheres. Understanding and addressing colonial mentality is essential for promoting social justice, cultural diversity, and equitable development in post-colonial societies. It requires collective efforts to dismantle colonial legacies and foster inclusive and empowering environments for Kanya syndrome and Talangka mentality. It is done by chismis, intriga, and unconstructive criticism. It is evident in the personal ambition that is completely insensitive to the common good. Kanya-kanya syndrome and Talangka mentality are terms used in Filipino culture to describe certain negative behaviors or attitudes. This term describes a mindset of individualism or self-centeredness, often to the detriment of community or collective well-being. It reflects a lack of cooperation, collaboration, or concern for others within a group or society. Individuals exhibiting kanya-kanya syndrome prioritize their own interests or goals over those of the larger community. This mindset can hinder collective progress, teamwork, and social cohesion, leading to conflicts and division within groups. Lack of self-analysis and self-reflection. The tendency to be superficial and somewhat flighty. Addressing a lack of self-analysis and self-reflection requires intentional effort and practice. Encouraging individuals to engage in regular introspection, journaling, or seeking feedback from others can promote self-awareness and personal growth. Additionally, creating a supportive environment that values vulnerability, learning, and continuous improvement can foster a culture of self-reflection within families, communities, and organizations. Emphasis on format rather than substance. This lack of analysis and emphasis on form is reinforced by an educational system that is more form than substance. Addressing the emphasis on format rather than substance requires a shift in societal values and priorities, promoting authenticity, integrity, and genuine human connections that can help cultivate a culture that values substance over superficial appearance. Encouraging critical thinking, empathy, and self-awareness can also empower individuals to look beyond surface-level impressions and recognize the true worth and potential of themselves and others. Value education in schools. Philippine schools have to intensify values education in curriculum. In response to the report of Senator Shahani, Values Education Now, Edukasyon sa Pagkakatao in 2012 was introduced as a separate subject in the basic education curriculum under the Values Education Framework program of Dr. Lourdes Cusumbing, Department of Education, Culture and Sports Secretary in 1988 to 1990. This framework was conceptualized in 1987. Value education in schools plays a crucial role in shaping the holistic development of students and preparing them to become responsible, ethical, and empathetic members of society. By integrating values education into the school curriculum and fostering a supportive and inclusive learning environment, schools can empower students to become compassionate, ethical, and socially responsible individuals who contribute positively to their communities and the world.